Audiolingualism is based on behaviorism. The objective is to instill new habits. New material is presented in dialogue form. Your grandparents learned English this way, through scripts. Hi, my name is Andy. What's your name? My name is Carol. I am a student at the Philippine Normal University. That's great. I'm going to the mall. How about you? Would you like to come with me? Yes, that would be great. So there's a lot of scripts happening in audiolingualism. It depends on mimicry, memorization of set phrases, and overlearning. The first language is prohibited because of the habits associated with it. And structures are sequenced by means of contrastive analysis and taught one at a time. What is considered to be the easiest is taught first, and what is thought to be the most difficult is taught later, based on an analysis through contrastive analysis. So audiolingualism sounds so logical. Okay, structural patterns are taught using repetitive drills, like it's time I past tense. Have we done this before already? It's time I past tense.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Pastor.
Okay, so it's time I past tense. So as I told you, the motto of Cebu Pacific is wrong. The grammar is wrong. They say, it's time everyone flies. It should be, it's time everyone flew. There's no grammatical explanation. Grammar is taught by inductive analogy, meaning you give examples of the rule and then the students would formulate the rule. That is true blue audiolingualism. Okay, when we teach audiolingualism, we do have some grammar teaching, grammar explanation. Okay, we do some deductive explanation, meaning we give the rule and then give examples. In audiolingualism, vocabulary is strictly limited and learned in context. Because the idea is you learn just a few so that you could master them. And there is much use of tapes, language labs, and visual aids. I wonder who among you have ever seen something like this. Can you raise your hand if you have seen something like this? Okay, this is a tape recorder. Maybe in one of your relatives' houses, you could see an old one still there, but already broken. Okay, thank you, Randale. You probably saw that in one of your relatives' houses. Or maybe your dad or your grandfather owns one. Usually it has a radio too. So the use of tape recorders and tape players are so that you could hear language spoken by native speakers or people who are good in English, so that you could imitate them. If the teacher feels that she is not as good in terms of pronunciation or other aspects of English, well, she would share with you, she would let you listen to conversational pieces through tape recorders. Language laboratories are highly technological places where you speak to a computer and the computer will tell you which word you mispronounced. So there's a bunch of letters, there's text in the screen. You would read them and then the computer would highlight which word you mispronounced. And of course, there's a lot of visual aids to aid you in your practice. Great importance is attached to pronunciation. It's really pronunciation that's the most important. And that is why audiolingualism is still viable although Noam Chomsky criticized it a lot to the point that it has lost credibility, audiolingualism is still very applicable when it comes to pronunciation. Everything that behaviorism and audiolingualism teaches applies correctly to pronunciation, to teaching pronunciation over learning, getting rid of old habits. They're still very viable when it comes to teaching pronunciation. So audiolingualism is still very useful. In audiolingualism, successful responses are immediately reinforced in order to encourage learners to continue. And great effort is exerted to get students to produce error-free utterances. So everything gets corrected because the point is to produce error-free utterances. However, the problem with audiolingualism, and we will end here, is that there's a tendency to manipulate language and disregard content, which is what Krashen and other initiatives are pointing out. That in order to learn form, you have to focus on the meaning. That's another counterintuitive thing about language learning, that you focus on meaning in order to learn the form. And I'm using the term learning in a broad sense. Okay, so the problem with audiolingualism is that it focuses on the form. Like when you say, I'm going to the mall, I'm going to the clinic. The next student would say, I'm going to the park. The next student, called by the teacher, would say, I'm going to the dam. The next student would be called, he would say, I'm going to the lake. All of that is form, but it's not meaningful because you're not really going to the lake. You're not really going to the mall. And that is what initiatives frown upon. Okay, next meeting we will discuss communicative language teaching as well as other topics.